بسم الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا رسول الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. وبعد. I would just like to thank all of you that you came tonight to listen to me once again. After maybe majority of you have attended my khutbah today and coming tonight to listen to my halaqah after Maghrib, that's another pleasure that I am enjoying. So I thank you for that. Jazakumullah khairan. Inshallah, I have 25 minutes to speak for. Yeah, inshallah ta'ala. I hope I'm not gonna waste a lot of your time tonight. Today we were talking about the masajid and the role of the masajid in the Muslim community. But before talking about the masajid, we need to talk about as-sajid himself. As our sheikhs always used to tell us that as-sajid qabla al-masajid. As-sajid is the person who does sujood. The human being comes before the building, the masjid. الساجد قبل المساجد والإنسان قبل البنيان. The human being comes before the building. So the masjid is the building, it's important for us. But who is more important than the building? The one who builds that building is more important. Islam came to protect 5 main objectives of the Sharia. The first one is hayat al-insan, life, before religion. Before religion. One time I was given a lecture and it was recorded online, and I was talking about the main 5 objectives of Sharia, and I said Islam came to protect 5 main objectives. One of them, number 1 is ad-din, religion. Number 2 is life, hayat al-insan. And then one of my teachers came across that lecture and he told me, actually, al-insan is number 1. Hayatul Insan comes before the building, before the religion itself. Because if there is no insan, who is going to implement Islam? So we want to talk about the insan himself. We talked today about the building. I want to talk about the purification of the insan. We have a lot of ibadat in our religion that are unique. But there's one thing that I want to talk to you about tonight, about tazkiyah and purification of the heart. That one thing was by far one of the most difficult ibadat for some of the Sahaba to implement. It's easy to talk about, but it's really difficult to implement because it has to do with purification. And tazkiyah and purification take a lot of time. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't change your heart overnight. It takes a lot of time and a lot of tarbiyah and discipline. Okay? There was a narration in Musnad al-Imam Ahmad from Sayyidina Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, the servant of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that he said, one time we were sitting with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam when he said, يَدْخُلُ عَلَيْكُمُ الْآنَ رَجُلٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Rasulullah said, while we were sitting, there's a man from the people of Jannah is going to enter into the masjid now. قال سيدنا أنس فدخل رجل من الأنصار تنطف لحيته من الوضوء يحمل حذاءه في يده الشمال. The Sahaba are trying to find anything special about that person. His name is not mentioned, by the way, in the narration. And that tells you we don't care so much about who that person was. We only care about that quality that we're talking about tonight. So Sayyidina Anas, when he described him as he came into the masjid in the presence of Rasulullah, he said this. He is one of the Ansar, the supporters of the immigrants. Okay, that's good. You know, Ansar, they are known in the Muslim community for some of their virtues. And then he said, his beard was dripping water from wudu. There's nothing special about this. He just did wudu like anybody else, and he came to pray at the masjid. And his beard was dripping, so what? And then he said, carrying his shoes in his left hand. I mean, do you have to tell me his left or right hand? Yes, he has to. Because in Islam we normally handle najasat with our left hand and tahara with our right hand. So that's his description. And then second night he said, فقال رسول الله مثل مقالته فدخل الرجل على الحالة نفسها. Next night, Rasulullah said the same thing. A man from the people of Jannah is going to come into the masjid right now. Pay attention to him. The same person came, the same condition. His beard is dripping, carrying his shoes in his left hand. The third night, Rasulullah said the same thing, and the same person came. فلما ذهب قام عبد الله بن عمرو ibn al-As يتبعه. When that man got up, whose name is not mentioned, he got up to leave. One of the Sahaba said, I have to follow him, to copy him, to see what he does. What's so special about him? He wanted to learn. فذهب إلى بيته, and he knocked the door and said, إني لاحيت أبي فأقسمت ألا أدخل عليه ثلاثا فهلا آويتني حتى أرجع إليه. He said, I had an argument with my father, Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu, Sayyidina Amr ibn al-As, and I told him that I'm not going to come into the house for 3 nights. For 3 days I'm not going to come into the house. Would you be kind enough to host me for 3 nights until I'm able to go back to him? The man agreed. But we know that Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As did not have an argument with his father. That didn't happen. So basically he lied. Lying in Islam is one of the major sins. There's a book by Imam al-Zahabi called Al-Kaba'ir, the major sins, by Imam al-Zahabi. Sheikh Mohamed Masloh al-Sha'rawi also has a book on Al-Kaba'ir, the major sins. One of the kaba'ir, one of the major sins is Al-Kadhib fi ghalib al-aqwal. Somebody who lies too much. That's a major sin. And it's not only a major sin. Lying, one of the most disliked attribute to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He hates that trait sallallahu alaihi wasallam. تقول السيدة عائشة ما كان من خلق أبغض إلى رسول الله من الكذب. Rasulullah never hated any trait in his life like he did with lying. And then she said, ما اطلع على أحد من ذلك بشيء فيخرج من قلبه حتى يعلم أنه أحدث توبة. Whenever he notices, he knows that someone lied, he would avoid him until he repents to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah. It's a major sin. So why did Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Amr did that? Because in Islam, in Sahih al-Bukhari, we're allowed to lie in 3 cases. In 3 situations, we're allowed to lie. Do you know these situations? What is the first one? Huh? To save the life of someone. So basically we're talking about war. One of them is war. To save the life of someone that's in war. You can lie in wars. Because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al-harbu khud'a. You get your enemy before he gets you. You can lie during the war. What is the second situation? If you're trying to reconcile between 2 people. Beautiful. 2 brothers are fighting or 2 sisters are fighting and you want to reconcile, want to fix that. You can go to brother A and tell him that brother B brought you this gift. But he didn't bring anything. He actually hates him. He doesn't want to talk to him. And you know this. And you go to brother B and tell him brother A said, you know, you're such a good brother and he really wanted to talk to you but he's tried to come talk to you. You're lying. And this is halal. It could be even recommended to lie in this situation. Why? Because you want to achieve an Islamic objective and there's no other means to do it. What else are you going to do? I mean, you keep trying to bring them together. We want to talk. They don't want to talk. So you go lie. The third time is between the husband and wife. Yes, in marriage. You can go tell your wife, you're the most beautiful woman I have seen in my life. And she's not. And she knows that. There are women who are better than her. And she tells you, the most handsome man I have seen. And you're not. Because there are men who are more handsome than you, obviously, but she lies to you because She wants to have this, to build a good connection with you. So she lies to you and you lie to her, and you both know you're lying, which is halal. The scholars use the analogy here, qiyas, that you can lie also at other situations when you want to achieve an Islamic objective, but there's no other way to do it without lying. You want to save somebody's life, like the brother said. You saw someone running, and then he came and hid behind your car. And then few seconds later, you found someone else with a knife running after him. So you can connect the dots here. You know this person is running from the one with the knife because he wants to harm him. And then the one with the knife comes to you. Did you see someone running? You can say, I can't lie. Obviously, it's behind my car, And then he goes and kills him. You can't do that. You just can't. Your Islamic obligation here is to lie. You have to lie in this situation, subhanAllah. You have to lie. So one of these situations is what Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As did. He wanted to achieve an Islamic objective. What is the Islamic objective? It's the ultimate objective. Someone is from Jannah living with us. Rasulullah told us in 3 nights in a row that there's a man amongst us, he's from Jannah. I need to know what he does because I want to follow him. So he lied. And that's called the ma'arids. But I don't want to open that file of ma'arids because it's going to take a lot of time. But let's just move on with the story. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Amr described that Sahabi. He said, فَمَا رَأَيْتُهُ يَقُومُ مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. No, there's a Qiyamul Layl tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, with our youth. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them. Allahumma ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. You're so blessed with a lot of huffaz in your community. Allahumma barik. Right? They're going to lead the Qiyam tomorrow. But Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Amr said, I didn't even see him doing that very righteous deed. He wasn't praying Qiyamul Layl. So what does he do? He said, وَلَكِنَّهُ كَانَ إِذَا تَعَارَّ مِنَ اللَّيْلِ تَعَارَّ مِنَ اللَّيْلِ, when he wakes up during the night, يَذْكُرُ اللَّهَ وَيُكَبِّرُ حَتَّى يَطْلُعَ الْفَجْرِ. When he would wake up during the night, he would just do this. Mention Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and says, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, until Fajr time, Fajr prayer time. That's all he does. He said, but I noticed one thing special about him. Look at this. This is the purification I'm talking about, the tazkiyah. Al-insan qabla al-bunyan, the human being before the building. What did he notice about him that was special? He said, مَا سَمِعْتُهُ يَقُولُ إِلَّا خَيْرًا. I never heard him saying anything but good. He never backbites people. He doesn't gossip. He doesn't waste his time talking about, stuff that's not really useful to him and others. He doesn't do that. He only says something good. Have you ever seen anyone like this, who never calls people names, who never backbites people, never spreads rumors, or never gossips? Have you ever seen somebody like that? That person was like that. And that was something special about him. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As decided to go talk to him. He told them, Rasulullah told us that you are from the people of Jannah 3 nights in a row, and I wanted to know what's so special about you. I haven't seen you doing anything special, until he said, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Amr said, حَتَّى كِدْتُ أَنْ أَحْتَقِرَ عَمَلَهُ. I was about to belittle what he's doing, like he's doing nothing. I do more than him, because I pray Qiyamul Layl, I read Quran. He doesn't do this. He said, so what's so special about you? The man said, ما هو إلا ما رأيت. Nothing special, only what you've seen last 3 nights. إلا, and he said, but there's one secret between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what you should do. You should have a secret between you and Allah azza wa jal. Something that nobody knows except yourself and Allah. Something special about you. What's so special about you that you can tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He said, ما هو إلا ما رأيت. Nothing special. غير أني لا أجد في قلبي غشا لمسلم. There's one thing I'm sure about. I don't have any hatred in my heart towards a believer. And ولا أحسد أحدا على خير أعطاه الله إياه. And I never envy anyone for something that Allah has granted him. Do you think that's easy? Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Amr told him, تلك التي بلغت بك. He did not say هذه التي بلغت. He said تلك. ده إشارة للبعيد. تلك. As if it's something very far to reach. تلك. What you're just talking about, that thing. He did not say this quality. He said that quality. So hard. تلك التي بلغت بك. That is what made you reach that position, that you're in Jannah, and Rasulullah was a witness on that, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then he said, وَتِلْكَ الَّتِي لَا نُطِيقُ. But that is the one thing that we cannot do. Who is he talking about? He's talking about the Sahaba of Rasulullah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He's talking about himself and other Sahaba. Look at this humbleness. So Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Amr is telling us that we can't, the Sahaba even couldn't, some of them, and we can't have no hate in our hearts towards anyone who is a believer, and we can't stop envying anyone. We can't, we just can't. But that is the one thing that's going to make you reach that position in Jannah, inshaAllah ta'ala. Hasad is different types of hasad. We have haram hasad, we have makruh hasad, there is forbidden, there is disliked, there is permissible hasad, and there is recommended hasad. Mustahab hasad, subhanallah. I like always to give these shocking terms to our youth. Mustahab hasad, and then he wants to know what is mustahab hasad. Let's just conclude with this inshallah because of our time. Hasad could be haram if you hate what another person has and you try to make him lose it. So these two conditions. You hate that he has a better car than you, a better phone than you. People love him more than you. So you hate him and you try to destroy his reputation, or just do whatever you can to make him lose what he has. That's haram. Disliked if you only hate it, because it's a human nature. When you see someone better than you, has a position higher than you, or has more material things more than you don't necessarily like him. But you have to stop hating him. Don't hate him because of what he has. If you did, that would be disliked. The permissible hasad is you want to be better than someone else. You and your cousin, for example, you're competing at a school, you want to be better than him, that's permissible. So what's wrong with that? Every human being wants to be better than others. That's normal. You can't be humble to the extent that you say, I don't want to be better than people. No, you should. And then there is recommended hasad, the sunnah hasad, which we call in our tradition ghibta. Ghibta. You see somebody like advancing in righteousness and you want to be better than him. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا حسد إلا في اثنتين رجل آتاه الله مالا فسلطه على هلكته في الحق ورجل آتاه الله القرآن فهو يقوم به آناء الليل وأطراف النهار. There are two people that you should envy. Two types of people you should envy. Number one, someone who's wealthy and he spends for the sake of Allah, and someone who has the Quran, a hafiz, and he prays with this Quran and recites his Quran day and night. You should envy these two people. يقول الفضيل بن عياض رضي الله عنه, based on this hadith, ما بلغ عندنا من بلغ بكثرة النوافل من الصيام والصلاة. This is the last quote I'm going to have and then conclude inshallah. ما بلغ عندنا من بلغ بكثرة النوافل من الصلاة والصيام. Those who reach the highest levels in Jannah amongst us don't reach those levels because of praying a lot of nawafil and fasting a lot of nawafil. That's not why they are special. That's not why. I can come to, look, we're not talking here about obligatory fasting or obligatory prayer. We're not talking about the fard. Everyone has to pray, regardless of what you have in your heart, you have to pray. But we're talking about praying sunnah. Let's compare two people. Someone who prays a lot of qiyamul layl. Every day he prays qiyamul layl. He could be reciting Quran every day, doing adhkar every day, but he has hate in his heart. He just can't get rid of it. He envies people and backbites people, can't stop talking about people. And someone else who never harms anyone, loves everyone, he's peaceful with everyone, but he only prays 5 times a day. Who is better in the sight of Allah? The one who has the clean heart, because he did the obligation. But the other one did not. So there's a lot of points to talk about in this particular topic, but I don't want to really waste much of your time. So I'm going to stop here, inshallah. Brother Manzoor? 5 more minutes? Okay. Strategies. Let's talk about strategies. How can I achieve this? It's very difficult. We said that the Sayyidina Abdullah, he said that even some of the Sahaba are not able to achieve it. I mean, he could be saying this out of humility, and that could be real. Maybe he's just saying this because he wants to be humble. But maybe really some of the Sahaba can't implement it. But for us, it's hard. It's hard. Think about your peers at work. Think about community members. Think about family members. Do you have any hate towards any one of them? Anyone? Think about it. It's close to impossible. How can I implement it? There are different strategies. One of them is this. How do I hate someone when I believe that he's done or has said something bad? So I have a belief that I hate that person. So number one thing is belief. He did something evil. That's number one. Number two, I start to develop some emotions about him in my heart. I start to love him because he did something good based on my belief, or I start to hate him because he did something bad. And then if I'm very weak and I can't keep these feelings inside, I will start to talk. If I love him, I will always start praising him. And if I hate him, I will have to backbite him. I just can't hold it in, right? What is the strategy? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said the strategy is to do it the other way around. So how does it start? Your heart, your belief, what you think that person did, you believe what he did or said, and then you have your heart, feelings, you develop some feelings, and then you say something evil. What did the Prophet say? Imam Ahmad narrated through Sayyidina Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يستقيم إيمان عبد حتى يستقيم قلبه. Look at this. He said the belief, number one, the belief of a person can't be upright and sound until his heart is upright and sound. Now how can I fix my heart, my feelings? How can I do it? قال ولا يستقيم قلبه حتى يستقيم لسانه. And his heart, his feelings cannot be sound and upright. He cannot purify his heart until his tongue is upright and sound. So what is the strategy here? Rasulullah said, watch your tongue. Now we're going to have good feelings, and then your belief can change. That's one of the strategies. And then he concluded, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَلَا يُؤْمِنُ مَنْ لَا يَأْمَنْ جَارُهُ بَوَائِقُهُ. He's not a believer, and his neighbors are not safe from his tongue and hands, from his harm, basically. If your neighbors are not safe from your tongue and your hands, from your harm, you're not a believer. Again, you're not a believer here. ليس كامل الإيمان. It doesn't mean he's a kafir. If somebody harms people, it doesn't mean he's a kafir. How so? Rasulullah said what? لا يؤمن. He said لا يؤمن. He's not a believer. Yeah, but it doesn't mean لا يؤمن. It doesn't mean he is literally kafir. It doesn't mean this. We don't take Islam literally like this. لا يؤمن here means لا يؤمن كمال الإيمان. Go look at Tafsir al-Imam al-Nawawi on Sahih Muslim. Any hadith that has لا يؤمن, it means لا يؤمن a perfect iman. He doesn't have a perfect iman, but the essence of iman is there. Okay, so we'll stop here inshallah ta'ala. We've talked for 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah. Q&A. Okay. So we can open the floor inshallah if you want to ask questions or give advice or, Hafiz Hamza. Ahlan wa sahlan. Inshallah. Bismillah. Easy questions only, please. Yeah.
Anybody have any question, please raise your hand and Brother Hamza will take the mic and then I will give the mic to the sisters here so they can ask the question. So I request one of the sisters to please come down and take the mic.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I have a question that I'm here from about 10 years. So I have met enough people. MashaAllah, everybody have a like different kind of attitude, different kind of like their own physicality. So my question is that if they make like trouble in your life and make ilmat, in a sense, ilm, from about 10 years. So if
you
it's
said
okay,
they make your life hard? That's what you said?
So it's about 10 years now. I'm out of all of my stuff, even my dad. So still going on. So this is like, is it like in Quran or like what's the? I want to know what's the actual hypocritism or what?
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that you've been hurt for such a long time.
Yeah.
Really? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heal you and all of us. Allahumma ameen ya Rabb, ameen. So I just wanted to ask those people, you have to be with them or you can just leave them?
No, I don't need them because I just came here.
So just leave them.
I'm lost with it because there's a lot of bunch of critical, I don't know, better stuff.
Look, Allah said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. You just do your part. There's something in Islam called معذرة إلى ربكم. معذرة إلى ربكم means you just do your part and then the rest is on them. What do I mean by this? In Surah Al-A'raf, there were people of the Sabbath, right, who were fishing on the wrong day. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade them of, right? So there were that group of wrongdoers, and then there's another group that is just avoiding them, not doing the same bad action. And then there was a third group that was trying to advise them. So we have now three groups. Number one is the evil ones, the ones that are not doing nothing, and then the ones that are trying to fix the evil ones. The ones that are doing nothing, they went to the ones that are doing da'wah and told them, لِمَا تَعِظُونَ قَوْمًا إِلَّهُ مُهْلِكُهُمْ أَوْ مُعَذِّبُهُمْ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. Why are you trying to advise them and you know that they're not going to fix themselves? What did they say? The ones who are doing da'wah, they said, مَعْذِرَةً إِلَىٰ رَبِّكُمْ وَلَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ. So that's what I'm trying to tell you here. If you have someone who's harming you, like, a lot of people come to me and tell me this. My brother doesn't want to answer my calls. And my mother keeps asking me to call him and text him, and he never answers. How many times have we done this? Many, many, many times. Okay, what should I do right now? What should you do right now is to keep your dignity and stay away from him because you've done your part. That's ma'ziratan ila rabbikum. He doesn't want to fix himself for years. I'm not going to ask you to put up with this because Allah said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Because if you come to me and ask this question in front of everyone, this means you're really hurt. And you might not be able to handle anymore. If I ask you to go put up with it, maybe you won't be able to do it and they're going to make dua against me later. No. Do ma'ziratan ila rabbikum. Try to be nice to them and fix them. If it didn't work, you've done your part. Ma'ziratan ila rabbikum. And Allah said, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah will never burden any soul beyond its ability. So, ya akhi, stay away from people who harm you. If they have been harming you for too long, just stay away from them. Really. What do you mean by that? Yeah, we can do that. We can sit after. We can sit after, inshallah, if you want to talk. Yeah, for sure. Great advice. Yeah, just take this advice as well. Beautiful. That's another great advice. Absolutely. Yeah. So basically, the brother is asking you to change the way you're thinking. People are going to be people, are going to continue to be people, and they're going to harm you. Some of them are going to harm you, and you just have to accept that. So don't think they're going to be perfect. Just live with it. That's.
Can I just stop here? I think let's have this brother talk to the sheikh afterwards one-on-one. Now, let's the other brothers and sisters ask the question, because that's what we're going to do. So next question is from the sisters, and then we'll come to a brother, inshallah. So we'll take one from the sisters and one from the brothers. Sisters, go ahead if you have any question. So next question we're taking from the sisters, inshallah.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So I had this question, you see so much suffering in the world, whether it's in Gaza or, all those places, and then you have to be fully present in your own life, whatever role you have as a parent or as a daughter. How's that possible sometimes when you see all that suffering, be fulfilling that role and being fully present in your own life when you see all that happening in the world?
Yes, I understand. So the question is about the evil that we have in the world. I mean, we could teach our kids that the Prophet ﷺ said as a parents, because you're asking about parents, how they can answer this question to their kids. You can just teach them that Rasulullah said, "Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir." That's one of the ways to...
No, how can you be fully present in your roles as a parent, taking care of your own family, when you have all this happening in the world?
How can you explain this? How can you
be fully present as a mom or a dad or a daughter and fulfill that role?
Can someone else paraphrase the question for me?
No. So I'm just saying, you have to be a parent, or you have to do your role as a parent. But when you have all that suffering happening in the world, it distracts. I mean, it is important, but how can you fulfill your role, as is what I'm saying? But am I not being clear?
Okay, sister, what I can tell you is what I can see in the connection between the suffering in the world and between being a parent. I think the connection here is that how can I take care of my kids mentally by teaching them how the suffering is happening in the world. That's what I was trying to say. And just by teaching them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to clean some people or cleanse some people in this world by testing them, because this world is the sijn of the believer and it's the jannah of the disbelievers. You can teach them that as a part of their aqidah, That's how I understand your question, and I hope that's what you're asking about.
I think, I got my answer.
Assalamu alaikum, Imam.
Ahlan wa sahlan.
Jazakallah khair for your time. Thank you for coming, ISCC. Question is how we can clean our nafs. So you're talking about nafs, so I'd love to know how, as a person myself, as a community, how we can clean our heart, not to have the envy or backbiting, those habits, to remove those from our heart.
Look, ya akhi, it really depends on how you think about things. Because if you think negatively about someone, how to clean your heart has many different meanings. If you're talking about tazkiyatun nafs for yourself, how to clean your own heart, that requires a lot of tawbah between you and Allah Azza wa Jal. But if you're talking about what we just discussed right now, if you want to clean your heart towards other people, number one is to watch your tongue. Number two is to pay attention to your thoughts. Because if you have negative, evil thoughts, they're going to, your mind is going to open more evil files in your head, and this negative thought is going to become bigger. What you need to do is to try to focus on what's positive in people. I always tell this to our people, our community. People do bad and they do good. So if you focus on the bad thing, every time you see that person, you're going to look at the other side. You're going to roll your eyes. You think it's a devil. But once you think about what's good in what he did, our sheikhs always used to advise us of this. This is an advice from our sheikhs. Any action that anybody does has a good intention. There's something good in it. What do I mean by this? Even if someone is backbiting someone else, which is evil, and I'm supposed to hate him for that action, but I'm going to hate him, but I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to hate the action, okay? How can I change my way of thinking? I ask myself, why is he backbiting a third person? Why? What is good about this? Because he wants to feel good about himself. Maybe he has insecurities. So you should give him that excuse. Maybe he is backbiting someone else because he doesn't feel good about himself. Because when I talk to you about someone, a third person, and I backbite him in front of you, that means I am good, you're good, but he's bad because of my insecurities. So backbiting is haram. I hate backbiting. But when you look at me, because I'm backbiting another person, what is the good thing about what is the good intention here? I'm trying to feel good about myself. So give people these excuses. That's very important. If you give people excuses, try to look at the good intention behind their evil actions, you might start to hate them less, and then start to develop that love towards them. And look, there's something that's very interesting I was reading the other day in a book called Emotional Intelligence. How do we communicate our feelings? Again, how do you communicate our feelings? Only 7% of our feelings are communicated through words, verbally. And 38% is communicated through our tone of voice. And 55% is through our body language. I hope I got it right. But you have like 93% of our feelings are communicated through something other than our words, what we say. It's not through what we say. It's not through our words. Example. Your son is giving you an attitude. And you ask him, why do you have an attitude? He tells you, I'm not having an attitude. I'm responding to what you're saying. See, the way he talked, his tone of voice, him looking at the other side and lowering his eyes, all this is body language and tone of voice. But what he said is only 7% of what he's feeling. So just something else to add here in the way that we communicate. Maybe it's not really related to what we're talking about, but because we're talking about feelings here. So what I'm saying is this. You need to give people excuses. Try to have acceptance that the brother mentioned. Very important point as well. Accept the fact that people are not perfect. They're going to continue to make mistakes, and you have to live with this. And again, watch your tongue. So because your tongue is going to affect your heart, and then your heart is going to change your belief, as the Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah. Tazkiyah is a huge topic. We can discuss it, inshallah ta'ala, in a series. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yeah, Sheikh, getting back to the topic of distancing yourself from toxic people, even if they're your family, I just wanted to know, what is the hukm of silat al-rahim, and what is considered cutting the ties of kinship, and what is not, what is allowed, what is not allowed, in terms of, protecting your dignity, like you said before?
Oh, okay. It depends on your situation. What you have to do is to do all you can, do your best to keep the ties of your kinship. But sometimes people really can't handle anymore. Sometimes I have seen a lot of cases in which the mother could be the one who is causing her son the depression. That could be the case sometimes. The brother could be the one who's avoiding his brother for no reason, no obvious reason, and he doesn't know what's going on. So it depends on what you can handle. If you can handle the harm coming from your family, do all you can to maintain that good relationship. All you can, and put up with their harms. Because that's what Rasulullah said to the Sahabi when he came to him. He told him أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام إن كنت على الحالة التي ذكرت فكأنما تسفهم المل. When he said, I'm trying to reach out to them, they're avoiding you, I'm trying to be nice to them, they're harming me. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said the angels are going to accompany you if you're able to continue doing what you're doing. Because Rasulullah knew that that person is able to continue doing what he's been doing. He knows that. Rasulullah gives the answer based on the situation, based on the person. A lot of times he receives the same question and he gives different answers based on the one who's asking. So if you're able to handle putting up with their harm, you must do it. If you're able to handle it. But if you're unable to, you're on medication because you're depressed, because of your family, because sometimes your parents, they are causing you depression, so you can't handle it. You take therapy sessions, you're on medication, and they're still harming you. So now is when we say, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. How many times Sahaba came to Rasulullah and asked them the same question? For example, what is the best righteous deed in the sight of Allah? To one person he says Tawheed, to another he says Salat, to a third he says Jihad, to a fourth he says being good to your parents, because of the situation of the person who's asking. So if you're asking me, or a brother is asking me, anyone who comes to ask me, I will have to sit and ask some questions first. I will need to ask you some questions. How much can you handle? Who are you having the problem with? And then I can give you an advice whether to put up with it or and accept, or just to avoid, and you have done your part. I hope that's a clear answer, inshallah. Very realistic.
Assalamu alaikum. So sorry, this is just a follow-up question if you don't mind. Then the brothers can ask. My question is that sometimes you hear a community member talk about someone who is a learned woman, for example, somebody who is maybe studying Islamic studies, etc. And so they will say something along the lines of, well, look at that woman, she is so educated about Islam, but she doesn't have good relations with her relatives or her family members. What do you, say to basically judgment like that?
I totally understand where the brother is coming from. The brother is trying to, because he's, this is a Muslim speaker who addresses people. She's given the stage to talk to people. So he thinks, his perception is, she's supposed to be perfect. So I know his excuse. His excuse is he wants her to be perfect because she is addressing my wife and my daughters and the women in our community. That's his side. But is that actually right? No, it's not. Because everybody makes mistakes. One of the diseases in our community is that when an imam or a Muslim speaker makes one mistake, we take it and make it way bigger than it is, and we destroy his reputation. We have seen this in many cases. He could be fired of his job. He can lose his career forever. We've seen many cases. There are the speakers and imams who lost their career forever because of how people destroyed their reputation and posted everything online about them. You could have forgiven them. You could have forgiven her. Look at the good that she has done, because you know what? Covering the mistakes of other people, it comes in different situations, right? Sometimes it's an obligation to cover somebody's mistakes. If he's a good person or she's a good sister, has been doing a lot of good for the community, but she did one or two things that are wrong. They are wrong. Everybody knows they are wrong. My obligation is to cover the mistakes of that person. Because Rasulullah said, Man satara mu'minan satarahu Allah fi dunya wal akhirah. I have to cover him up. Not to go destroy his reputation because I'm expecting he is an angel. He's not an angel. He's not an angel. It's hard to break in when we see community members are so happy talking about another imam. Again, I'm not talking about this because I'm an imam. Wallahi, if any normal community member does something and people try to destroy his reputation, the one thing I'm going to do is to defend him in his absence. That is the one thing I'm going to do. Especially if he's someone who has done a lot of good for the community. That's one case. But the second case, which is the other side of the spectrum, somebody who's evil. He's known for being evil. He's spreading munkar. We know him for this. And he did something wrong. My obligation is to expose him. So that's different now. Because that's amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy 'anil munkar. I have to tell people, be careful. He's doing munkar and I need to warn people. But there is something in the middle. I'm not sure if that person has done a lot of good or not. I'm not sure. Is he a good person or a bad person? I don't know. So I should assume that he's a good person if I don't know much about him and try to cover him up. But to erase the history of a Muslim speaker, whether he's a man or a woman, because of one mistake that they have done, that's not an Islamic trait.
Does anyone have any other questions?
That's a great question, by the way. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Plano Masjid. I hope you're enjoying our nice and hot weather coming from Canada.
I didn't hear you.
Did you hear what I said? I hope you're enjoying the hot and nice weather in Plano.
Yes, it is nice, actually. Yeah, you asked me the same question today after Jummah. Just remembered.
I have a couple of comment or questions. Number one, great masjid, great environment. How do you invite or how do you fill the masjid? Many of the other Muslims, they do not come to the masjid. And on a consistent basis, they just don't. So that's one question. I'm going to throw the second very different question. So we are in the middle of the election season. What is your plan and how do you communicate where we know the Muslims' votes will make a difference? It could be a few votes that will make the difference. But we live in such a polarized society that we cannot support one or the other. Perhaps the policy of the Islamic Center or whatever. But just like to hear your opinion. Thank you.
I think I heard the first question well about why don't people come to the masjid on a regular basis? Right? That's the first question. Okay. My question to you, do you have regular halaqat every week in the masjid? You have every week there's a regular halaqah? There's always you never cancel it. There's no cancellation. Okay, when is it? Friday? Saturday? Not a specific day? That's what I'm talking about. So it's not regular then. Regular means specific day. That's what I'm asking about. To answer your question, because I have to answer the question. From my perspective, I could be wrong, by the way. I don't know why people don't come. But from my perspective, I've been in my community for 11 years. Wallahi al-azim, there is a family halaqah every Friday. For 11 years it's been happening. Every single Friday, my family knows, the community knows, everybody knows. You come to the masjid is like half the size of this one. It's packed every Friday. It's like an event. When I cancel this halaqah, the board comes to me and tells me, you know, people come to the masjid with food and drinks and their kids, like it's an event every Friday. You didn't come, we have a problem. Why? Because it's very regular and engaging. There's every Saturday, it's a Quran. Like there's youth class, we never cancel it. Never. We have finished a lot of courses. And we bring them pizza. In the past was weekly. Now it's monthly because the masjid is trying to save money to build a new masjid. But it's regular. Every Wednesday, there's a new Muslims class. We never cancel it, except in the pandemic. This one. You know? So what I'm asking is, why don't people come to the masjid regularly? Do you have someone who is very committed to give like a halaqah every Friday? It cannot be cancelled. It's Quran, unless he's traveling or very sick. And Saturday and Wednesday, huh? Oh, every day, I mean. Okay, people have their own lives, you know. People can pray somewhere else. Do you really don't? Do you really? They don't have to come all the way to the masjid to pray, really. And that's the honest answer. They don't need to, because they can pray anywhere else. If they want to pray in jama'ah, that's even better for them. But if you want to pray in their office, in their universities, whatever, at school, at work, whatever, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Somebody lives close by, and why? Because of what? Ask the why. You have to why. Doesn't he come if he lives close? If he has an excuse, I ask you a question. The question is, what is his excuse? He should, but does he have an excuse? We're done? Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair.
So in closing, I just wanted to say, for the sake of our Imam and for the sake of the brothers, Alhamdulillah, as you know, this masjid opened ground in 2001. Right, Shaukat bhai? 2001? September, right after September 11. When you open the masjid, you come at the Isha time, only this saf was full. And maybe half of that one. Nobody else. We didn't have this back here. We didn't have that place here. We just built a gymnasium, okay? And then we connected the gymnasium with the library and the rest of them. What I'm getting into is that, Alhamdulillah, before the pandemic, right before the pandemic, this masjid was packed in Isha. This hall is full and half of that hall is full. This is just before the pandemic. Then what happened? There are so many masajid open around our masjid, right? We have Allen Masjid, we have Frisco Masjid, we have Epic Masjid, right? And now we have ICQC. So 99% of the folks at ICQC right now used to be here. So to answer this brother question, maybe some of us don't see that those people who are not coming, where they're coming, maybe they're going to other masajid, other musalla. We also have a Masjid al-Sahaba right down the road, about 4 miles or so. And Masjid Salahuddin. And then our youths, some of them goes to Kalam, not to mention there's a Kalam Academy, goes to Kalam. And some of them, they go to at UTD and other places. Hamza can correct me. And some of them, they pray their Jummah in the UTD. They have a full-fledged Jummah. And some of our youths go to Jasper High School. They pray Jummah in the Jasper High School. So these are the phenomenon that shows that, yeah, some people are coming. But inshallah, the Muslims are growing. I would say, give and take, about 60% of the Muslims right here, right now, are newcomers coming from Chicago, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, and so many places. And I know myself, there's a brother who mentioned to me 5 years ago, he Googled it, and he saw Islamic Association of Collin County, and he saw the programs that we have offered. Within a week, he made a decision with his wife that we're going to leave this place and we're going to go to Plano. So what I'm trying to say, yes, there are brothers are coming, and some of the brothers are going to the other masajid, but inshallah, the masajid are getting full, and that's why brothers and different communities are making more masajid. So please make dua for all of us that may Allah give the masjid full with the righteous people, inshallah. With that, inshallah, I like to say, Jazakumullah khairan for your time, Sheikh. May Allah bless you and your family. And inshallah, we'll pray Isha at 9:30. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.